August 26, 1969, and what a summer it has been, everybody. The man on the moon, the Gemini shot getting there, an extraordinary thing for Apollo 6, 9, 10, 12, whatever it was. The Mets charging the Cubs for first place in the new divisions in the National League East. And just back here from Woodstock, Steve Lyons. And you came back by blimp? Or did it just seem like that?
I flew back, baby. I mean, Dylan blew my mind, and it was Country Joe and the Fish were so full of peace and love. It was amazing.
What about Hendrix?
Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, Elrod Hendrix. No, what about Elrod Hendrix?
Don't know the dude, man.
Okay. They're going to beat the Mets in the World Series, as we well know. Let's go back to Wrigley Field. Sock it to me, Joe Buck.
I'll do my best, Keith Olbermann. It's a 1-0 Dodger lead as this game gets into the bottom of inning number 3. Ricky Gutierrez will lead it off for the Cubs. He'll be followed by Jeff Reed. And then the number 9 batter, the pitcher, Kevin Tapani. If you only knew what was happening in this booth right now. First pitch, a strike over the outside corner. After this first at bat, I will attempt to end my career in 1 minute. Now I'll attempt to give you a live commercial as Gutierrez flies one into shallow center. Might drop, will drop, it is. Hey, hey! A base hit in the center for Ricky Gutierrez. And now a word from one of our sponsors, Wrigleyville Shaving Cream. A shaving cream that glides on ever so soft. A shaving cream that digs down deep into your pores. It pulls the whiskers up and it says, hello there. Shave me. Put me into the sink and whisk me away into the nearest lake. Oh, I'm feeling smooth. Wrigleyville Shaving Cream helps to bring you baseball today on Fox. It's about as good as I can do. Back to the action. Bottom of the 3rd inning. And Gutierrez on at first with the Cubs' first hit of the afternoon.
This booth is a mess.
A mess. Just prior to coming on at the beginning of the inning, I dropped my little shaving cream brush. 1 ball, no strikes, and Reed fouls it back to the left. Jeff is a .218 hitter. 4 home runs, 22 RBIs for Reed in his first full season with Chicago, and only 2 out of his last 21 in the last 6 games.
This booth looks like my bathroom when I checked out of a hotel today.
1 ball, 1 strike on Reed. Runner at first, Gutierrez. 2 balls and a strike.
Like an old barber, you got to clean up your partner every now and then.
Sometimes it's a good thing there aren't more cameras to shoot the booth. The year is 1969, and a major innovation will happen after this at bat. Hit and run, and it worked. Base hit for Reed. It's 2 on with nobody out. Tim, they have the second baseman, Chris Alonic, moving to his right by starting the runner. It's a hit for Reed, and now the big innovation, color. Not what you're used to at home yet, but their first attempt at color.
The hit and run, on the other hand, has been around for a long, long time in baseball. And the Dodgers had the wrong guy covering. Had the shortstop been covering, Bretzelanik throws out Jeff Reed. Mark made a terrific adjustment at second base by coming back and making the play and almost getting Reed at first. As it stands, an infield hit, and look for Kevin Tapani to bunt.
Electronic graphics now, with 2 on and nobody out as the sun tries to pop through here at Wrigley. Showing bunt, pulling back, taking ball 1 low from Matt Hergis. Hergis has been consistent, if nothing else, in his previous 3, in his first 3 Major League starts. He's been a loser every time out, and he's gone exactly 6 innings every time out. Runners on at first and second with nobody out. And Tapani drops down a bunt foul, a ball and a strike. Nice and even with the graphics, straight lines, and certainly nothing that we're used to now, but the electronic graphics with the advancement in color, and we're starting to get more toward the typical coverage that viewers have come to expect now as we have moved into the 21st century. 2 on with nobody out, 1 ball, 1 strike. Tapani, 9 out of 53 at the plate. Just spins but doesn't throw.
Yeah, the sooner a batter squares around, the more inclined he is to use that fake bunt swing play, as Tapani tried to do on the first pitch and is apt to do right now.
The run off the plate is foul, and now Tapani's in the hole 1 and 2. So with 2 on and nobody out, the Cubs down by a run. Have the tying and go-ahead runs on base, and they have Tapani at the plate, trying to advance the runners. And his own cause, as he is in search of win number 9 on the year to go with his 10 losses. Runners on at first and second, nobody out. Tapani drops down in beauty. It's a test for Hergis. He's up to the test, and the sacrifice good, 1-3. Now a slow motion replay.
First time that slow-mo has come into being. And a good job by Tapani. Third time the charm for Kevin. Trying to bunt the first 2 and connecting with the third.
So they got him on, they got him over, and now it's up to Eric Young or Mark Grace to get him in. 1-0, the Dodgers lead here in the 3rd inning. The year of our coverage, 1969. It's ripped down the line, foul. Into the Cub bullpen, strike 1. Mario Puzo's The Godfather came out in 1969.
First year of divisional play in baseball.
Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, first man to do it.
On cue, the organist just played Fly Me to the Moon. Must be listening.
Second and third, 1 out. No balls, 1 strike. Young rips a base hit into left field. 1 run scores to tie it. Here comes Reed, and the Cubs take a 2-1 3rd inning lead.
Eric Young only 3 for 27 before this hit. And against his old team, he drives in the first 2 runs of the game for Chicago. The Dodgers have beaten the Cubs 8 straight here at Wrigley Field. And that horrible happening back on May 16th when 19 Dodgers were initially suspended for going into the stands when a fan took the cap of Chad Kruder.
Originally, the suspensions were for a total of 89 games and $77,000. Suspensions reduced to 45 games and $71,000. And as we've mentioned, Gary Sheffield is now serving his 5-game suspension for his involvement in that incident. And we understand there's a chance, even though he could play tomorrow, meaning he's eligible, his 5-game suspension is up after today, that he will not even appear here in Chicago, suffering from the flu earlier in the week. These Dodgers will head to Milwaukee after this series concludes tomorrow. Check on the runner at first, Young, and while we talk so much about Tom Goodwin with his 43 stolen bases, Eric Young with his 43, 17 of his last 17, and he's held on by Eric Harris. Crowd into it, packed house, 1 out, and a pitch out. Young stays put. Tied for second in the National League with his 43 stolen bases. 1969 is a bitter year for the Cubs. A wonderful year for the Miracle Mets. Cubs lost 8 straight in September. Mets won 10 in a row, and the Mets went on to the World Championship. A pitch up and away, 2-0. Talk to Ron Santo, who's to our left, and you bring up 1969, and he just starts to walk away. Doesn't even want to think about it. Runner at first with 1 out. 2 balls, no strikes on Grace. Burgess from the stretch. Hard hit into right center field, a base hit. Young will turn and now go. First and third, 1 out on a base hit by Grace.
Very good base running by Eric Young. He had to hold up to see if Grudzielanek was going to catch the ball. You could see him holding up right there. And then scooting into third base rather easily.
Wrigley Field is notorious for its thick grass. And once that ball hit in right center field, it almost checked up. By the time it rolled to Goodwin, Young was on his way to third easily. That's the 4th hit of the inning. A 2-1 Cub lead, and they have a chance for more with their best run producer, Sammy Sosa, at the plate. If you're just joining us, do not adjust your sets at home. Don't go up to it, whack it on the side like I might. This is the early stages of a color telecast for Major League Baseball. First and third, 1 out, and a pitch is low for ball 1. Sosa, number 1 in the major leagues with his 43 home runs. And as we mentioned, his first time up, guy who has 379 career home runs since the beginning of July, right at the All-Star break, has been red hot. First and third, 1 out and a 1-0.
To give you an idea of how Sosa has carried this Cub ball club, since the All-Star break, Sammy has 20 home runs. The rest of the team has 17.
You start to think about Sosa and what he's doing with this Cub lineup and how he is producing while others are not, especially with the long ball. Here's a 2-0, 3-0.
Yeah, he's doing it nakedly.
Yeah, and you start to think about a guy like Ralph Kiner, who did what he did, amazing home run heroics on some very poor Pittsburgh teams.
369 home runs for Ralph in 10 years. That's close to 37 a year average.
With regard to home run percentage, Kiner is 3rd all time.
Behind Mark McGwire and Babe Ruth.
We don't know those two. We have to look those up. 3 balls, no strikes on Sosa. And you would have to believe that if he sees something he likes, he will rip.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't even give him a chance. And the bases are loaded with 1 out as Matt Burgess, who grew up in Champaign, Illinois. And his parents, Butch and Barb Burgess, have made the trip here from the home of the University of Illinois to watch their son Matt pitch for the Dodgers. He is starting to fall apart here in the 3rd inning.
Claude Osteen, the pitching coach of the Dodgers, out to talk to Matt. And as you said earlier, Joe, a 30-year-old rookie. He toiled for 7 minor league seasons in the Dodger farm system. 35 of his teammates, when he was toiling down for AA and AAA Albuquerque, AA San Antonio, 35 of his teammates came to the Dodgers during that time. And Matt kept waiting and waiting and waiting and finally got his chance and is in trouble right now. Big league trouble.
You're also talking about a guy who's in big league trouble who at one point in his career was a replacement player and pitcher. Made that decision. I tell you, while on some levels he regrets it, on others he believes it's the single overriding reason why the Dodgers got a good look at him and why he finally got a chance.
Since you brought that up, that was one thing that was foreign, that term replacement player back in 1969.
Here the bases are loaded with one out. And Hergis deals with Rondell White and misses high and away. If this were indeed 1969, and if this was August 26th, we would be less than a month away from Willie Mays in his 600th career home run. Bases loaded, one out, a 1-0 pitch. Ball and a strike on Rondell White, who's starting to heat up for the first time in a Cub uniform. Struggled at the start, was frustrated, by his own admission, was trying to do too much. Picked up at the trading deadline, July 31st. He has a chance here with the bases loaded, one out. That's on the outside corner, borderline pitch. Hergis gets it, and the count 1-2. Seven-game hitting streak now for White. Hitting .414 during the streak, 2 homers, 5 RBIs. A 1-2 from Hergis. And caught him on the hand. And they are going to say hit by pitch to force home the 3rd run of the inning. That'll force home Eric Young, and instead of that pitch hitting the bat, it hit White on the hand, according to Charlie Williams. And it's a 3-run 3rd inning for Chicago.
Just like a walk with the bases loaded, a hitter is awarded an RBI. When he's hit by a pitch with the bases loaded, he gets an RBI.
And a bruise.
And a bruise. That's an RBI the hard way right there.
Sometimes a visit from the trainer. Sometimes a trip to the MRI machine. But as it is, White is okay, seemingly. He's at first, joined by Grace and Sosa on the bases, and with them loaded, one out, here is Damon Buford, and that's barely caught by Todd Hundley. Start to look at this Dodger team, and you wonder what they would be like if their 4 and 5 starters, who at the beginning of the season were Carlos Perez, Oral Hershiser, were doing anything. 2 balls, no strikes. Hergis is in that category of a 4 or a 5 starter. And this season, the 4 and 5 men in the rotation for the Dodgers are 7 and 22 with an ERA of 6.62. Dodgers come into this game 6 games over 500, 7 behind the Giants in the NL West. 2 balls and a strike on Buford. The wild card chase, which is getting less and less wild and more civil, is being dominated by the Mets now, especially as they beat up on Randy Johnson last night at Shea. Dodgers, by the way, 9 out in the wild card chase. Buford took it high, 3-1. Arizona 5.5 out now behind the Mets. Three balls and a strike, bases loaded, 1 out, and Buford hits it to 3rd. What a pickup by Beltre. Throw across, double play, inning over. Not only did he take a hit away, but he turned it into an inning-ending 5-3 double play.
Some play. Watch the in-between hop. Speared by Beltre, backhanded, and then he guns him out. A brilliant double play.
So as it is, 3 runs. Honky-tonk woman.
Yeah.
The music of the time. Roll the clock forward, 3-1 Cubs.
Go where you wanna go. confidence, security. That's what Goodyear innovation is all about. From AquaTread wet traction to Eagle Run Flat to Goodyear Wrangler, tough, durable tires for light trucks and sport utility vehicles. That's serious technology. Freedom from worry.
Serious freedom.
Only from Goodyear.
Goodyear, Goodyear.
Leave it to you, Terry. A computer that goes with your outfit.
I'll tell you what, this compact really goes with Howie. Good grades.
How's that?
It comes with educational software, and you can choose from 30 titles. It's the Compact Creative Learning Series only at Radio Shack. And now, you can even choose the color.
I like purple.
Now, save up to $650 on a system, including a $400 in-store MSN Internet rebate from Microsoft, only at Radio Shack.
Applebee's got riblets, juicy, tender riblets. All you can eat riblets. Smoke them up, sauce them down, eat them up, have some more. All you can eat riblets. Round them up and head off to Applebee's for our all-you-can-eat riblet roundup while it lasts. For a taste as American as Applebee's. Yeah!
Still got athlete's foot?
Don't take it anymore.
Cure it to the max. New Desinex Max. One Desinex Max has more curing power than 3 of these guys or these guys.
Athlete's foot.
Cure it to the max. New Desinex Max.
That's weird. Honey, this lipstick doesn't look like your shade. Oh, $300 for a massage? I don't remember a massage. Honey! Get in here. I'm watching the videotape for my bachelor party.
Thick-headed? Sure. But nothing compared to the rich, thick, frosty mug taste of an A&W root beer. With A&W, it's good to be thick-headed.
Boy, was that embarrassing. Here, let me rewind it.
I have never been a quitter. But as president, I must put the interests of America first. Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
Well, what a month we're having, Steve Lyons. Here in August of 1974, the President of the United States resigns, or as the kids say, splits.
Hey, at least the new president, President Ford, no way will he pardon Nixon. No way, man.
Well, pardon me, Steve, but we're here to talk baseball, man. And what a season it's been. Hank Aaron hit number 715. Nolan Ryan's fastball clocked at 100 miles an hour. And the sad news, Tommy John's pitching career is over at the age of 31 due to a sore arm.
No, man. There's this new far-out doctor out in California. His name's Frank Job. He's going to take a tendon out of Tommy John's ankle or something and put it in his left arm. He'll be pitching by next year. It's cool.
You're high, aren't you? Yeah, like that'll work. That slow motion stuff is totally weird, as the kids say. Peace, Joe Buck.
Peace, my man. We went out with a British invasion. The Stones, Honky Tonk Woman. We come back. It's the 4th inning. It's 1974, and we're hovering somewhere above Wrigley Field. Chroma Key, and I'm standing here with my partner, Tim McCarver. For some reasons, the Blazers just didn't seem to fit right.
All of them seemed to have been that length where the long sleeve shirt and the whole cuff showed, didn't it?
It did. You think of a guy like Kurt Gowdy at this time, Tony Kubek, and obviously many others. But this is Chroma Key. We're standing in front of a green felt curtain that there. That's an odd shot.
Very odd.
That's what it looks like.
That's why we can't wear green.
That's all I have to say about Chroma Key.
But your tie is green today.
My tie is green. Yeah. Kurt Gowdy could never wear green.
Right.
He would disappear. 2 balls and a strike on the leadoff hitter, Eric Karras. There's a strike. 2 balls, 2 strikes. So just to show what it looks like in real life, this is it, just like a green curtain. And stand in front of it, and they can put you anywhere you want to be.
That's right.
Karras gets into one and hits it down the left field line. It's in the corner and foul. If you could pick anywhere that Chroma Key could send you, Mr. McCarver, where would you pick? I'm talking about the 2000 Tim McCarver.
Right now?
1974 Tim McCarver.
Any place but behind the plate.
But behind the plate. All right. I'll give you that. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Karras. And like they said during the pregame show, you don't need to understand how electricity works to turn on the light
I really don't quite understand why that would work and why it has to be green. While I switch from a stick mic to a headset, why don't you tell the folks at home why that curtain has to be green?
I cannot tell the folks at home why it has to be green, but Eric Karros ropes one, finally finding the fair part down the left field line. Nice play by Rondell White. So after a couple of hard-hit foul balls, Eric straightens it out, as they used to say. Back in the mid-70s. Looked like an inside fastball. Nope. Outside part of the plate. Eric finds the range.
So there's a good play by Rondell White down the line. And Todd Hundley stands in. Hundley so far today has bounced into a double play. And he takes one inside for ball one. What was your first year in the booth?
1980.
With
Harry Callis, Richie Ashburn, Chris Wheeler of the Philadelphia Phillies, Andy Musser. Then I worked with Bob Costas. It was both of our first network games. Boston at California, the Big A in Anaheim.
The popular split screen, which was then reintroduced, and now you can find it at least on any Fox telecast. Whether it's on the network level or the Fox Sports Net level, everybody's big into split screens, which they used back in the 70s. 2 balls and a strike, 1 on, nobody out. Floats away, 3 balls and a strike. We've already mentioned a couple of times that we're doing this to pay tribute to the men and women who came before us at other networks. But I will say this, certainly without trying to be self-serving, the job that our producer Michael Weissman, our director Bill Webb, who is just phenomenal, as Hundley taps it foul 3-2. Derek Manning with the graphics, everybody who helped go back through time and mark each year and each advancement technologically, and who helped put this on the air today to make it look very similar to the way it used to be covered on television. Gary Lang with that great pregame. The guys, the job they did on the air. Karras going, swing and a miss, and the throw down to second is wide and loose. And Karras gets his 3rd stolen base of the year as Hundley strikes out for the first out here in the 4th.
Eric stealing this perhaps because Todd Hundley had such a mighty swing at his backswing, interfered with Jeff Reed and his throw to second base. We'll check it out one more time. Look at the backswing of Todd Hundley. It keeps Reed behind the plate long enough for the errant throw to go into the runner. And Karros has a rare stolen base. He is not a fast runner, as everyone knows.
Runner at second, 1 out, and a strike is on the inside corner to Adrian Beltre, who had the big day yesterday, a 5-hit day in the doubleheader, and is 1 for 1 today. Fred King, who did so much research back in Los Angeles to help go back through time and not only give us all a good indication as to what was going on baseball wise, but sociologically what was going on in the world as we start back in 1939 and roll the clock forward. Gary Hartley and the job that he did with the graphics way outside, and Beltre at the plate with a 1-ball 2-strike count. Mitch Regan, our technical director, who helped put together that look that made it look like it was 1939. 1 ball 2 strikes and a ground ball to the left side. Tough hop for Willie Green, makes a good play, 2 out.
1973, the song Bad Bad Leroy Brown, and put Leroy on the south side of Chicago.
That's right.
Where the Chicago White Sox continue to play very, very good ball, beating Seattle last night 4-1.
Runner at third with 2 out. Baddest part of town. Go down there, you better just beware of a man named Leroy Brown.
He's a gambler.
One more name to tell you, actually a couple. Peter Sultans and Joe Carpenter for the work they did with the audio, which actually I think made my voice sound better. Avon could not hold up, and now he's in the hole 0-2. Steve Horn with the job he does here in the booth week in and week out. Dave Hill putting this all together and making it work. Mike Berger back in Los Angeles with the research. No balls, 2 strikes. Runner at third, 2 out. 1-2. And now I think I'm in the self-serving category of listing everybody who's ever been employed at Fox.
I'll tell you who was in the self-serving category back in 1973 on March 5th. 2 Yankees, Fritz Peterson and Mike Kekich. They swapped wives, dogs, and children on that day.
Boy, won't that make you feel warm on a Saturday afternoon in Chicago? Music of 1974, Carl Douglas. Everybody, why don't you get up and kung fu fight? Why'd you bring that up?
Sorry.
3-1 Cubs.
In the history of professional hockey, less than 1% of all the players have scored 50 goals in a single season. They stand out from all the rest. And Bobby Hall? Well, he stands out from them because he was the first to do it 9 times.
Expect more from an original Coors, brewed in Golden, Colorado.
Just for the record, my beer is an original.
That's the one. Perfect match. Oh, she is gonna go nuts. She's going to love this. Oh, I score.
Honey?
Hey.
Got a little surprise for you.
So do I. I actually found someone to buy this old lamp. Isn't that great? $500.
Whether you're buying or selling on eBay, use your Visa card. Visa, eBay's preferred way to pay.
Now that Napa Auto Parts and accessories are available online, have we suddenly become hipper? Well, maybe a little. NapaOnline.com, where the world's largest inventory of ready-to-ship parts and expert advice you depend on in our stores, are now available online around the clock. And if something isn't right, you can ship it back or return it to your participating Napa store and we'll make it right. Actually, this is pretty hip.
Fox Saturday Baseball is brought to you by NapaOnline.com, where everything great about Napa is now available online.
And a news update. Gerald Ford can sure sing. Our new president, Mr. Ford, has appointed Nelson Rockefeller as vice president here late August of 1974. And Steve Lyons, Billy Martin, the manager of the Texas Rangers, got them the American League West pennant race. And perhaps, I think he's finally found a home at last there in Texas.
Oh, Texas is a great place. Dig this. Me and Billy were out last night. We were working on some new moves or some music that's coming out a little bit later. A few years from now, it's going to be all the rage. It's called Disquette or Disco or something.
Actually, I think he was just trying to hit you.
He couldn't do that.
By the way, we're told that on September 1st, a couple of days from now, the Red Sox, when the rosters expand, will try to buy a veteran catcher from a National League team to fill in for the ailing Pudge Fisk, and they're looking at Tim McCarver of St. Louis. Here's Joe Buck again.
Who's that?
All right, guys, thank you. We're still in 1974. How long were you with Boston?
Almost a year, a month of 74, 3 months of 75. I joined them in Baltimore on Labor Day, September 1, 1974.
The Baltimore Orioles shut out the Red Sox 1-0, 1-0 in a Labor Day doubleheader. Off day on Tuesday, and Jim Palmer shut out the Red Sox 5-0 on Wednesday. I joined the team in first place by 5 games on Labor Day of '74, and I saw them not score a run in 3 games.
No balls, 1 strike on Green, and a ground ball to first.
Some help, huh?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Karras takes it himself, beats Willie Green to the bag. We've said the name Harry Coyle already in this broadcast. A guy who for basically 40 years wrote the blueprint, the Bible, as to how to cover baseball on television. Began with the DuMont Network in 1947. He co-directed his first World Series that year. He directed 36 World Series. Also did Rose Bowls, U.S. Open golf, NCAA basketball championships. Some things you might not know about Harry Coyle. If you knew that, B-17 pilot during World War II. Flew 35 combat missions over Europe. From Paterson, New Jersey. And he passed away 5 years ago. And so while we all pay tribute to so many who have come before us, we point a lot of this in the direction of Harry Coyle, who should be in baseball's Hall of Fame. 2 balls, no strikes, and that's on the outside corner, 2-1.
It was Harry Coyle who put that cameraman in the scoreboard at Fenway Park in the off chance that something exciting may happen.
Talking about 1975?
75 World Series, Game 6 off Pat Darcy. A home run by Carlton Fisk, captured by Harry Coyle's cameraman.
And the story is that the camera was inside the Green Monster, obviously. And also inside the Green Monster, just to the side of the cameraman, was a rat. And so the cameraman was at least a little worried about the rat and had his attention diverted partially, and therefore kept that shot of Fisk long enough to see him wave that ball, or try to wave that ball fair, keep it fair. And then the excitement in the crowd behind Carlton Fisk at Fenway Park. One of the greatest shots in the history of baseball on television, and a rat had much to do with it.
Lou Gerard, the cameraman, and called beautifully by Dick Stockton. In those days, local broadcasters would broadcast 1 inning of a game during the World Series, and it just so happened that Dick Stockton, that was his inning, and he had the call of Carlton Fisk, that famous home run to win Game 6.
Marty Brenneman was a part of it for Cincinnati. Just went into the Hall of Fame this year. And the stories lately, just had a run-in with Ken Griffey Jr. Ken Griffey Jr. upset with criticism that Marty Brenneman had sent his way for not hustling out of the box in a ball that could have been a double. He kept as a single.
When a batter doesn't run hard out of the box, a broadcaster, it's his responsibility to say that.
Maybe we'll get more of a chance to talk about that situation a little later as we go to break. Benny and the Jets.
Right.
As we go to the 5th inning. 3-1 Chicago.
CD, $15. Baseball tickets, 2 please. $60. Abstract painting, $3,000. Express checkout on the web, priceless. The MasterCard e-wallet. Online checkout is now 1 click away. There's some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. Get one at mastercard.com.
That's him! Number 84! The duty of a true race fan is to help his driver. He can't eat out there. Basically, I eat for him. Oh, yeah! Lap 73, my driver wants ribs. Lap 110, something lighter. Lap 162, time for Rolaids. Extra strength.
New extra strength Rolaids with even more acid neutralizing power to wipe out heartburn fast.
This is for us, man.
New extra strength Rolaids. R-O-L-A-I-D-S. Spells relief.
Summertime heat can make you act just plain silly. Don't let it happen to you. Get help from 7-Eleven Frozen Lemonade Fruit Cooler. Oh, thank heaven.
The world's most advanced shave is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Mach 3. Easy loading, easy rinsing, and 3 blades that shave closer in 1 easy stroke. Mach 3 from Gillette.
Did you want to be alone?
Oh, no.
No?
Not at all.
Okay.
The irony is I started doing this to be part of the crowd. And now...
me too.
Oh, do you...
No, I just quit. Nicoderm CQ.
Aren't the cravings unbearable?
Well, I'm not jumping, if that's what you're thinking. No. CQ is good on the cravings. It's strong medicine. It's with you 24 hours. It works.
Nicoderm CQ. Now in a clear patch, too. For a more personal way to quit.
Quit, huh?
Hey, join the crowd.
We are the world. We can dance if we want to. We can leave our friends behind.
It's an amazing thing to see here in August of 1985, 3 months shy of his 21st birthday, the young man who may just be the greatest pitcher ever before he's done. He won his 20th game yesterday, the youngest man to do it in this century, Dwight Gooden.
Oh, I'll tell you what, this guy's got a fastball that's unbelievable. His curveball's devastating. You remember the legend of Sid Finch? Dude could throw 168 miles an hour. I can't even catch that in my Ferrari, man. You want to know who Sid Finch is? It is Doc Gooden.
What an unlimited future he has. Well, now back out to the TV team that is second biggest hit of the year. And we're not talking about Miami Vice. Thank you for blinding me with that jacket.
This look is cool.
It'll last, too. I'm talking about the Golden Girls and now a couple of the Golden Boys who now have themselves some golden and multicolored graphics. Joe and Tim.
No B. Arthur here as this game goes to the 5th inning, a 3-1 Cub lead. And we will switch from 1974 color to 1985 color. And the shift, obviously a look that also includes computer-generated graphics. Much more cleaner look in 1985 as Alex Cora stands in. 0 for 1 this afternoon. These graphics and these looks, I'm sure, are taking a lot of people back to when they grew up watching baseball on television. 1 ball, 1 strike, and Cora chops it foul outside third. Strike 2.
15 years ago in New York City, a 20-year-old pitcher went 24-4 with a 1.53 ERA, and Doc Gooden took New York City by storm his second year after winning 16 in '84.
When he first came onto the scene and he had that season, what did you think you were seeing? One of the best ever?
I thought so. Youngest pitcher to ever win the Cy Young Award.
2 balls, 2 strikes, and Cora fouls it away.
I mean, he won 40 games before he was 21.
So we're talking about the difference with the computer-generated graphics. We're talking about a difference in color, and we're talking about a pitcher who's still pitching.
Yeah.
Even with all the off-field trouble, and Dwight Gooden, who is a long reliever now for the New York Yankees. Alex Cora trying to get on to start this 5th inning for the Dodgers. It's a 3 ball, 2 strike count.
Yankees trying to fend off the Boston Red Sox. The Yankees losing last night, along with the Red Sox and the Toronto Blue Jays. Yankees 3 games ahead of the Red Sox in the American League East and 5.5 ahead of Toronto.
By the way, we would typically have a blimp coverage by now, but weather has kept it out of the area. We understand it's on its way. 3 balls, 2 strikes. And that's down the line and foul off the bat of Alex Cora. Meanwhile, Seattle has a 1.5-game lead over the Oakland A's in the AL West. That's an RF camera, radio frequency camera, and it can go anywhere, and that was introduced at this time. Middle part of the 80s, and you can walk around and take people, at least at home, sitting in their living rooms, places they hadn't been before. That's Cora with a good battle and a line drive and a left caught by Rondell White. 1 away here in the 5th inning.
It's a huge adjustment when you go from playing left field at the Big O in Montreal to playing left field at Wrigley Field. Every fly ball is an adventure, as Rondell White shows. Rondell with a fine play staying with that ball.
Multiple angle replays now for your viewing pleasure as Hergis, who already has a hit today, fouls it away. This is not only an education for people we're bringing this game to, it's an education for me.
Me too. Yeah.
No balls, 1 strike, 1 out, nobody on, and strike 2 on Hergis. Matt singled up the middle his first time up. 1 of 4 Dodger hits on the day. 1 and 2. And misses the corner. 2 and 2. For the first time, we give you the shot from the low home camera. 8 cameras in all that are at our disposal. As Hergis gets a pretty good rip, it's still 2 and 2. In case you're wondering how the 8 cameras would compare to, let's say, a World Series telecast this year. During a World Series, Bill Webb, our director, will have the capabilities of 22, 24 cameras, somewhere in that neighborhood, as Hergis swings and misses strike 2. So over 20 cameras for a World Series now compared to 8 that would bring you the game of the week back in the mid-'80s. And now with 2 out, nobody on, back to the top of the order, and Tom Goodwin, who has scored a run today, but he's 0 for 2 at the plate. When it gets right back down to it, gets down to the bottom line, it's still covering a baseball game. And whether it's a play-by-play announcer on television doing less play-by-play, more radio, that's going to be a test and a hit. Or it's cameras covering the action, whatever technology was available. The bottom line is it's still, for the most part, the same game that's taking place between those white lines.
Certainly the same game for a guy like Mark Brace. Excellent fielder, but because he had to play in to protect against Goodwin in the bunt, ball just squirts off the webbing. Expect Tom Goodwin, who did not run his first time on base, will be off here with 2 out.
Gresolonic now, who has a hit, an RBI double his last time up to score. Goodwin all the way from first. There he goes. Reach throw is good, and good by Goodwin. For the 10th time this season, Tom Goodwin is caught trying to steal. And the top of the 5th inning is history. So is Material Girl by Madonna. Top 10 hit 1985. 3-1 Cubs.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Howie. What are you doing?
Counting.
Counting what?
All this cool stuff I got on my shopping spree at Radio Shack.
Shopping? You hate shopping.
Not when it's...
Oh!
Get $400 to use toward anything in the store when you sign up for or switch to fast, reliable MSN Internet access from Microsoft at Radio Shack.
Howie, come on, stop it.
Thank you for shopping at Foot Locker.
No problem. Thanks, man.
Those ourselves?
That's weird. Honey, this lipstick doesn't look like your shade. Oh, $300 for a massage? I don't remember a massage. Honey, get in here. I'm watching the videotape for my bachelor party.
Thick-headed? Sure. But nothing compared to the rich, thick, frosty mug taste of an A&W root beer. With A&W, it's good to be thick-headed.
Boy, was that embarrassing. Here, let me rewind it.
Piazza in the Mets. Edmonds in the Cards. Fox Saturday Baseball next week. Fox Saturday Baseball is brought to you by A&W. With A&W, it's good to be thick-headed. By Adidas, who invite you to experience the new SL for yourself, only at Foot Locker. By Radio Shack, you've got questions, we've got answers. And by Nicoderm CQ, the power to calm, the power to comfort, the power to help you quit.
Dodgers and Cubs, August 26th, 1985. It still is 85. And for the viewers, their last look for the day at baseball coverage from the 80s. Our next half inning will be 1996, which is, I guess, virtually what we do in the year 2000. So 1985. What network were you with? What blazer were you wearing in 1985?
I was wearing an ABC blazer.
And then went to.
And you were in high school. You were junior in high school?
This was my first year of driving.
Your driver's license. That's exciting.
In April of 1985.
That's great.
So you went from where? You went from there?
I went, yep, ABC. I did my first World Series with Al Michaels and Jim Palmer that year. Howard Cosell was fired for coming out with that book about quite a few ABC employees. And as we know, and everybody in this business knows and should know, that's not a good idea if you want to stay in this business.
Yes.
Yes.
But he kind of did things like that. He did things to the beat of his own drummer. And
he did.
I guess in essence, then you were replacing the legendary Howard Cosell.
I guess so, because had I not been there, Howard would have been the man.
Here's Kevin Tapani, who's pitching well. He grounds the first pitch to second, picked up by Gresolonic, one away.
Also, Joe, in baseball that year, Whitey Herzog of the St. Louis Cardinals trying to once again fend off the New York Mets. They eventually did that. Bobby Cox was managing the Toronto Blue Jays. Dick Hauser was the manager of the Kansas City Royals. The Royals came from 3 games to 1 behind to win the American League Championship Series. And they did that to win the World Series also against the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cardinals winning against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Ozzie Smith hits the home run after 3,143 at-bats without a home run. The graphic went up on the screen, and the next pitch, boom, home run.
It was a year that Tom Niedenfuhr would like to forget. You know, I obviously grew up in St. Louis, and a lot of people still talk about the Don Denkinger call at first base, the George Orta safe.
Game 6 of the series.
Yep,
yeah.
Todd Worrell had his foot on the bag. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out, nobody on. And a chop to the right side. Kara spins and makes the play. 2 away. There is one silver lining to it. I know my father says this all the time, that call did allow Dick Hauser and the Royals a chance to win the World Championship. And as many know, Dick Hauser passed away shortly thereafter.
You know, I never thought about that until you just said that.
Here's Mark Grace with 2 out, nobody on.
Cardinals, meanwhile, under Whitey Herzog, went on to play and lose to Minnesota 2 years later, back in '87. Great World Series that was.
Grace with 2 out takes a strike.
And the reason I say that particular year, the general manager of the Minnesota Twins that year was Andy MacPhail. And Andy MacPhail is now the general manager of the Chicago Cubs.
Taking over for Ed Lynch, who stepped down earlier this season. It was during the time that the Sosa watch was on, and everybody was wondering just how long it would be before Sosa was putting on a Yankee uniform. It didn't happen. Sosa has just gone off since then, and he is obviously relaxed and resigned to the fact. And you would have to say happy about the fact that he'll end up here in Chicago with the way he's been hitting the ball and the way that he's been playing.
Ed Lynch told me about 2 weeks ago, after his resignation was accepted by the Cubs, that he tried to turn in the resignation earlier in the year. The Cubs broke from spring training. Ed thought that they had a better than 500 ball club, and when they got out of the chute poorly in mid-May, he tried to hand in his resignation. It was not accepted, but 2 months later it was. There's Andy MacPhail.
Grace pops it into shallow center for Goodwin. If this is 1985. Pete Rose in a couple of weeks would break Ty Cobb's record of 4,191 hits. Here's a hit for you. Duran, Hungry Like the Wolf. When we come back, Fox Sports and the here and now, 1996 and beyond. 6th inning, 3-1 Chicago.
When work ends, what begins? Will it be panic or pleasure? At American General Financial Group, our Valak Financial Advisors help over 1 million people turn hard work into a retirement big enough to hold their dreams. It's never too early. It's never too late to start, and it can make all the difference. American General Financial Group. Live the life you've imagined.
Applebee's got riblets, juicy, tender riblets. All you can eat riblets. Smoke them up, sauce them down, eat them up, have some more. All you can eat riblets. Round them up and head off to Applebee's for our all-you-can-eat riblet roundup while it lasts. For a taste as American as Applebee's. Yeah!
Dad lost his hair early. When I started losing mine, I checked it out with a dermatologist, and he said Rogaine. It's 2 years later now, and I don't see any difference. Doc was right. You can keep the hair you have with Rogaine.
Now that Napa Auto Parts and accessories are available online, have we suddenly become hipper? Well, maybe a little. NapaOnline.com, where the world's largest inventory of ready-to-ship parts and expert advice you depend on in our stores, are now available online around the clock. And if something isn't right, you can ship it back or return it to your participating Napa store and we'll make it right. Actually, this is pretty hip.
He was a world-ranked high jumper. His best jump was a near-world record. The fact is, he had this uncanny ability to leap high into the air. And that came in pretty handy in his next career as a basketball player.
When you're an original, you do it your own way. Original Coors.
Original Coors. Bottoms up.
Center for Mitchell, and we'll see you tomorrow night. And we rejoin you for this first season of Fox Saturday Baseball, and while we're here having fun, what a gaffe for Republican presidential candidate Bob Dole, calling them the Brooklyn Dodgers. 96, Senator, not 56. I know it feels like 56. Yankees are returning to power. Conceivably, they'll be matched up in the World Series against the Braves as they were in 57 and 58, Steve. And Steve?
Yo, hang on, man. Hey, it looks like another 4 years in the White House for Bubba. Should be smooth sailing ahead for him, including the guys that have to cover him on a day-to-day basis. That ought to be nice. Nice office.
Why did I just get such a bad feeling about what he said about covering the president? Well, never mind. Back to Chicago, Tim McCarver and a fella who just might turn out to be the best play-by-play man of our time, Joe Buck. Of course, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. Get your feet off my desk.
Hey, chill. All right?
Thank you, guys. Top of the 6th inning, a 3-1 Chicago lead. Kevin Tapani trying to protect that. And we are now in 1996. The Fox box looks a little different than you would have seen it the last couple of years. Graphics look a little different. You going to telestrate something for the people?
Yeah, I telestrated the Fox box.
Oh, I missed
that. There you go. Not only do we have a telestrator, but we have a new telestrator.
You can't put
squares.
You cannot do that.
Baseballs.
Into right center field. That's a hit for Gressolanic. He's 2 out of 3, and that's a good start to the inning for the Dodgers. Buford holds Gressolanic to a single. With the heart of the order coming up.
Also now with super slow-mo, as Gressolanic, boy, I know a lot of hitters wish hitting were that easy, that the ball slowed down to where you had a good look at it. One thing Kevin Tapani has done today, he's kept the ball in the ballpark. He has yielded 33 home runs this year. That is 5 away from the National League lead, that ignominious lead held by Jose Lima of the Houston Astros. He's given up 38 round trippers on the year.
Kevin Tapani will tell you, though, along some lines is not the worst thing in the world, because it means that he's giving innings and he's out there at least to give up the home runs.
That's true.
2-0.
Let's take a look at another innovation here at Fox. A hot zone on Sean Green.
Looks like the Rubik's Cube that Lyons had in his hands when we introduced the 1985 season. 2 balls, no strikes. What a rip by Green. 2-1. So the Brooklyn Dodgers involved in the first major league game televised back in 1939, and the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the Chicago Cubs. Not a whole lot's changed around here. 3-1 Cubs in the 6th inning. 1 on, nobody out. Tying run at the plate for the Dodgers, and it's 3-1.
Historically, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the last time they played in the World Series, 1988. But it's been 55 years since the Cubs have played in the October Classic. 1945. The year the war ended, they played Detroit and lost.
Hit and run. The runner was going, and Gresolonic locates the ball and goes first to third. And that's what it is, first and third here in the 6th inning with nobody out for Los Angeles.
Mark Gresolonic went for the decoy employed by Jackie Gutierrez at second base. This ball scalded to right field, right down the pipe. An idea of what a hitter is thinking when he gets that 3-1 fastball. Watch Gutierrez. See, he didn't look, and now he's forced to look at the second baseman, or shortstop, I should say. Mark picks it up in time to scoot to third.
So now first and third with nobody out for Eric Karras. Karras 1 for 2. He reached on an error his first time, singled, and yes, he stole a base his next time up. Strike 1. Where does Eric Karras fall on the all-time Dodger home run list? How about number 4? And he's only 1 home run short of tying Roy Campanella. 241 for Eric Karras. 0-2. You could go through different eras, different decades. We came on the air talking about 1939. At that point, the Cubs talked about 1944. 1939, the Cubs were coming off a pennant year, and they had won 3 pennants during the 30s. And the one in 1945, and that's it. First and third, nobody out, 1 and 2.
Cubs winning the National League pennant in 1932, 1935, and the famous homer in the gloaming. It was the first time that I was introduced to that word, gloaming, which is dusk, not quite now in the Midwest.
And as we mentioned at the time, the Dodgers' ascendancy after naming Leo DeRocher the player manager. There were a lot of player managers at the time because of the economic situation with the Depression. So that wasn't so abnormal. In fact, as we talked about, Gabby Hartnett was the player manager for the Cubs. And after that homer in the gloaming the year before, the Cubs clinched just 5 days later. First and third with nobody out, a ball and 2 strikes on Eric Karras. Tapani has Karras set up.